15 former female employees of the Washington Redskins have accused members of the team's front office of sexual and verbal harassment. This in a new report from the Washington Post. The accusations span from 2006 through 2019 and include longtime radio voice Larry Michael, also Director of Pro Personnel Alex Santos, and his assistant Richard Mann. The latter two were recently fired, and Larry Michael abruptly retired. Owner Daniel Snyder and team president Bruce Allen, they have not been accused of harassment, but some of the women said it was unlikely that Snyder and Allen did not know about the behavior. The Redskins declined to comment to the Washington Post. For more, let's bring in our insider, Adam Schefter. And Adam, there were whispers about this story breaking, and you, of course, heard them. You knew about it. You reported earlier today that the team hired an attorney to review its protocols and policies. So the Redskins knew it was coming. What more can you tell us about how they prepared for this story to break?
Sage, it's a situation where there was, in my mind, almost unprecedented hype and expectation for this story that the Washington Post published this afternoon that alleged, again, that there were 15 former employees, all women, who were victims of sexual harassment by former scouts and members of the Washington Redskins team. Now, again, as you mentioned, also, Washington hired a D.C. attorney, a respected D.C. attorney by the name of Beth Wilkinson, to defend the organization, to go through the organization and figure out or really examine the culture and see what has gone wrong. But clearly there's a systemic pattern here of behavior that is alleged from these various people that stepped forward and spoke to the Washington Post. And as you mentioned also, I think when the Redskins this past week got rid of Richard Mann III and Alex Santos, and the radio play-by-play voice Larry Michael left the organization, all three are accused of misconduct in the Washington Post story. It was clear that the Redskins were going to act on this and move on from these particular individuals in which there was any sense of wrongdoing. And that is exactly what they've done. And this is going to require a deep look at the organization, how they've conducted business, what they will do going forward. And I think that's why they brought on the woman that they did to try to help get this straightened out. It's a very serious situation. It does not reflect well on the organization. But this is a pretty straightforward piece from the Washington Post, while there was a lot of speculation swirling all across social media the last week or so.
And Adam, this comes after a tumultuous time for the organization, but in particular, owner Dan Snyders, the longtime owner who, of course, is almost forced to make a name change for the Redskins, still waiting to see what that name ends up being. But with that lying in wait there, as well as this damning story, potentially, as we wait for this to play out, potentially what could this mean for Daniel Snyders' ownership?
Well, he's going to own the team, and that's not going to change. Now, there are shareholders, limited shareholders, who have begun exploring the sale of their shares of the team. They've hired an investment firm to vet potential buyers and to sort out what it would take to sell the team, see if they could find buyers. It's a tough environment to try to sell in right now during a pandemic, but they have begun that process. And obviously there is bad blood here between those limited shareholders and Daniel Snyder. I think we all could see what's going on here, how this is all shaking out, how all these things surface at a time where these limited shareholders are basically challenging Daniel Snyder. Again, with that confrontation between them, I don't think it's accidental that we're seeing a lot of these things emerge about the organization.
Obviously, again, we have to wait to see what happens. And as you reported, an attorney has been hired by the team to review all their policies and protocols. Roger Goodell, the commissioner, obviously the first to look closely at this and pay attention to what happens. But how, when something like this breaks, Adam, how is it handled by Goodell and other owners who are watching this story play out?
Well, listen, the NFL is going to need to act on this. And again, I would think that the Redskins as an organization would be subject to discipline. This is something that doesn't reflect well in the NFL. It would not surprise me if there were discipline involved here, a fine involved here, but it goes beyond that at this point in time. It goes to making fundamental changes that are required in our society, of things that are completely unacceptable, that have gone on allegedly in their organization from these various individuals. And so this is up to that organization to clean this up and get that right, no matter what the NFL decides to do. Is it going to make anyone feel better if the league takes away a draft pick or fines the team or this? I mean, okay, the league can and probably will do something along those lines. But the fact of the matter is that this is unacceptable behavior, and this has to be corrected.
Again, this is alleged to have taken place for a long time, 13 years, from 2006 through 2019. 3 employees already gone, 2 fired, 1 suddenly retiring, which says a lot that immediately those 3 men are now gone. Adam Schefter with the latest as we wait to hear more details of this breaking story out of Washington. Thank you.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.